So, what happened when we were born, when we were born in those early days, what would have happened? We would have said, okay, we are right now, we are on planet Earth. And first of all, we figured out, okay, what to wear because we were not wearing anything. And then we said, okay, how to breathe. Okay, we are inhaling oxygen. And then we figured out, okay, we need water and we need food. But at some point of time, we must have realized that, okay, now we are a group of individuals. We are not alone on this planet. And what we need to do is we need to trade. So the moment we started, we wanted to trade. We said, okay, I said, I have apples and Imran has bananas. Let me, okay, just approach him and say, you take my apple and give me your banana. And he agreed and the trade happened. But what if, when I went to Imran and I said, I have apple, you please give me banana. And Imran said, no, I don't need apples. I need oranges. Right there, the barter system actually failed. And there were many challenges, especially when you had shoes and somebody has house, how many shoes you need to give to buy that house and what that person will do with those shoes, right? Crazy, isn't it? So barter system was not scalable. That means we needed oxygen, we needed air, we needed water, we needed clothes, we needed fire, and we needed some better alternatives and ways to trade. So that must have made us realize that, okay, I need ledger and money to survive on this planet, right? Why ledger and money? That I need, if I'm trading with so many people, like if I'm an apple grower and I'm dealing with somebody who's making pots, I'm somebody who's selling kettles, somebody who's selling hats, somebody who's selling sticks, somebody who's selling axe. I am dealing with so many people. So how I'm going to maintain this? So either I remember, recall it, remember it, but obviously my mind has a capacity. So I said, okay, I need to write something somewhere. So I need a ledger and how to write it down in a common form of money, right? So suppose if I'm putting an entry into ledger, how should I calculate it or how should I put in that it is easier for me to maintain that ledger at the end of the day, right? So money and ledger, I needed something where I could use it for a medium of exchange where that can really help me facilitate my trade, right? So that's the reason if you go early 7,000 years back, these are the forms of, the first form of writing was actually ledger, where somebody was trying to maintain a ledger, as you can see. And double entry system, that was like 700 years back when we got to when the double entry ledger system was invented, and even that is even used today, right? So that meant that as a function of money, we actually, at times when I ask you, what are you doing? पैसे के लिए भाग रहा हूँ यार, पैसा पैसा, अरे पैसा है क्या? So somebody, if you ask anybody, what is money? So people have different definitions of money. And by the way, everybody is correct, right? But if you see, money is basically does three functions. One is medium of exchange, that you can use it for buying stuff, right? And you can use it for trade. And second is unit of account, that everything in this world can be calculated can be assigned a value. So suppose if I have this microphone, this is for 1000 rupees. I have a pen that is for 10 rupees. I have apples that for 5 rupees or 10 rupees. So I can basically assign a value to all the different articles, and I can value those things in that particular money, right? In INR. So suppose in our case it is INR. Somebody's US is valuing things in dollars. Somebody in China is valuing things in yuan. So they have assigned everything in the value equivalent to yuan, right? And the major function of money is store of value, that it should be able to retain its value over the period of time. INR is able to retain that value? Mm, question mark. But the major function of money is, to solve the problem of, that money should be something that should be able to store the purchasing power over the period of time. You should not lose your purchasing power over the period of time. And that is the reason money kept fighting with each other. We had different forms of money. And hundreds of forms of money were experimented during the past, and every form of money was fighting with each other with on portability, durability. Like for example, salt and gold were fighting. Salt was a form of money, gold is a form of money. Gold survived for so long, as a use case of money, because of these parameters. So money kept fighting on portability, that whether you can transfer it from one place to another conveniently. Durability, is it durable? Third, divisible, can you divide it into small pieces? Hard to produce. If money is something very common, if I tell Imran, go and pick that stone that is lying on the road, It's a money. Imran से ये तो सब जगह मिलता है. It's available everywhere. Why should this be money? So money is something that must be scarce, rare, right? Money is not something that is easily available. If I tell you I can give you INR, come to my home, I'll give you through printout. I'll give a printout of 10,000 rupees. Will you accept that? No. Money is something that is hard to produce. You need RBI, you need a central bank to produce it, right? And central bank will not produce it just because they want to print it. By the way, governments are printing money. That's a different question, right? US dollar is getting printed, everybody is printing money, but even then money is scarce. You can't just get it like this. I can't print it at my home, right? Censorship resistance, verifiable. I can verify money. And limited supply. Money should be limited in supply. There should be rarity or scarcity to it, right? The more rare the money is, better it was. And that's the reason salts were used as a form of money. Cigarettes, if you have it in your pocket, congratulations, it was once considered as money in prison, especially. Seashells were used as money, liquor was used as money, and cattle, gold bars,
हाँ
gold coins, dollars. There were all different forms of money that has been used in the past, and
हाँ
they were competing with each other. Is there a question?
हाँ हाँ
I can hear somebody's voice. Right. So all these different forms of
हाँ
money
हाँ
was used. Uh, can you mute? I can hear somebody saying something on phone, I guess.
Right. Guys, you need to mute yourself. Let me also just do that.
Can we start?
Sure.
That's the reason there were different forms of money in the past, and every form of money was fighting on these parameters. The best, the best money, the one that survived for the longest period of time is gold. Gold has a history of 5,000, 6,000 years. Fiat currency has a history of 100 years only. The paper currency that we have, and now the digital form, has a history of 100, 120 years. But gold survived the longest period of time, and it was considered as money by kingdoms, by various continents. And almost every individual on this planet considered gold to be form of money. Why? Because gold had portability, durability, divisibility, hard to produce, censorship resistance, verifiability, and limited supply. These were the parameters that were found the most in gold, and that is the reason gold has the wide acceptability. But monies, they kept fighting with each other to to be the best form of money, right? And that's the reason what happened, that once we evolved from gold to fiat was, actually initially fiat was used to, there was some problems in gold, right? The problem is that you can't carry gold, right? If you have to transfer gold, you can't do that. And the gold has a problem of divisibility. If I want to buy a piece of brown bread, how much gold I need to break to buy that gold, brown bread, a packet of brown bread? If I'm wearing a gold chain, and how much I need to break it to buy that packet of brown bread? So it was very difficult in divisibility and portability to transfer it. If I need to send chunks of gold, it will be very difficult to send physical gold from one place to another. That's the reason fiat money it was introduced by governments. Fiat said, okay, our value is backed by gold, and we are the derivative of gold. So we are a platform, right? We are a derivative product over gold. Our value is derived from gold, and it's a paper currency. Somebody who has this paper currency can go to bank and say, okay, give me my gold back and take my paper currency back, right? But this didn't happen. What happened was that till 1971 this thing worked, that the value of your currency was backed by gold. But after 1971 this was abolished by US, and nobody said nothing. Nobody was, in fact, everybody was happy, because nobody retaliated that why US is doing it. But US did it, everybody accepted it, and everybody was like, okay, our money now, our value is backed by the US dollar. And suddenly that's a different chapter altogether, and we can discuss it some other day. But to begin with, what started happening, that a central entity started issuing currencies. And what happens, that a central entity which started issues currencies, what happens is that around the world, what we have seen, when you have a central databases are prone to hacks and manipulations. And because of that, we saw crisis in 2008, where the banks were issuing tons and tons of loans to people, and suddenly when they were not able to repay back, we saw the 2008 crisis, which led to fall of many financial institutions. During those times, in what happened, when internet was born, somewhere these individuals that you are seeing on the screen, they knew that when in 1970s, when they came to know these faces, these are, by the way, are called cypherpunks. These cypherpunks, they figured out in 1970, when two computers can communicate with each other, they said, okay, what will happen to privacy? That if two people are communicating to each other, uh, uh, how we will ensure that privacy is there? Because is there a third person who will be able to see that conversation? If a mother is talking to her child, or two brothers are talking, or a husband and a wife are talking, or girlfriend boyfriend are exchanging some email communication, what will happen to privacy? So these were the individuals who fought for privacy. And by the way, right now you might be saying that privacy is my right, but during that time, if you used to talk about privacy, people used to throw you into jail. In US, most of these individuals have seen imprisonment. And by the way, the things that they have invented in their lifetime are being implemented today. These all are the fathers of encryption, cryptography, that is today being used to secure the banking infrastructure, from blind signatures to digital signatures to proof of work to cryptography to encryption. All the technology that you see today, that the banks are using today, that the credit card companies are using today, are being has been invented by either David Shom, Hall Finney, Eric Hughes. These were the guys who actually fought for privacy during those days. So these were the individuals who said, okay, uh, privacy is something that is fundamental to individual. And the second most thing is that there has to be a better way of storing, databases. There has to be a ledger that should be open, verifiable. Anybody can view it. Anybody can see that what is happening. Transparency should be there. There has to be a better way of doing it. And that's the reason they came up with an idea of a distributed ledger that has to be, public ledger, that public should be able to view it, and public should be able to verify it. Public should be able to believe in it, that okay, fine, this data is correct. Because the central institutions, the financial institutions, they don't allow you to access their ledger. They don't have a public information. They don't print information publicly, and you are not able, you and very few people with privileges can access distributed ledgers, or the centralized ledgers maintained by the financial institutions. And that is the reason, for the past 40 years, before 2008, when the Bitcoin was invented, there were many such innovations that were happening. Not people only talk about Bitcoin, but in the past 40 years, before 2008, there was an attempt of Xiaomi and eCash, Mojo Nation, Hashcash, eGold, B Money, BitGold. And all these experiments, they failed because they were not complete experiments. There was something which was lacking, right? So that's the reason, in 2008, because the attempts that were being done before 2008, all these attempts and all these shortcomings were noted down. And a person, we don't know if if he's a male or a female or a group of individual or a nation, Satoshi Nakamoto launched a white paper in 2008, and he came up with an idea of something called Bitcoin.